We all have one question. Who are the Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki is arguably one of the greatest mysteries of our ancient history and our past.
We have to ask, who were the gods? The gods were extraterrestrials.
Join me in this grand odyssey and discovery as we seek to uncover the hidden truths of the Anunnaki.
By studying the Anunnaki, we truly unlock the secrets within ourselves at the same time.
We are the offsprings of extraterrestrials, and that's not coincidence.
This is the saga of the Anunnaki and their ancient secrets revealed. All right. What's up, everyone? It's Billy Carson, a.k.a. Forbidden Knowledge. And I have my very good friend here, Chris. Chris has been, a huge supporter for a very, very long time of Forbidden Knowledge. He's now also part of the Forbidden Knowledge family. He's a huge supporter, a huge investor in Forbidden Knowledge, and he's bringing his entire team and family members on the Forbidden Tour of Egypt in October. This is incredible, man. So when I got to talking with Chris, we were on the same frequency on a lot of this ancient information, and he really wanted the opportunity to come on here and talk with me and have a great conversation. And also ask some questions. So welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Well, Billy, it's great to be with you. I've admired you for many years, and it's really been good to get to know you a little bit better and talk about these ancient secrets and histories, which, have been hidden for years. And we don't, we've been taught a certain way growing up with religious things and going to church and different things. But as you go along, you start to realize there's more to the story. And you have been a great person to give this information to people, to let them to learn and grow and enlighten their lives, really, for this opportunity. So I really thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, and I hope that we can have a great exploration into all these interests that people want to hear and learn about, which is really great.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And again, man, your support has been unbelievable support for Forbidden Knowledge, and we definitely appreciate that. Tonight we're going to have a conversation, everyone. Forbidden family. I know that the live is filling up right now. We got to get to at least 1,000 in the live chat. Right now we're at 425. All right. So make sure you click the like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you came in here from the text message, just remember we're on the Billy Carson official YouTube account. So you might not be subscribed to this account. So make sure, just double check that subscribe button and make sure you're subscribed here also. We've got several YouTube accounts in case one account's acting up or not letting us post like the other one is right now, because we talked about some health stuff that they didn't want us to get out. So they blocked us from posting for a week over there. So now we're over here on the Billy Carson official. We always got back. I think we got 5 YouTube accounts, close to 1 million on each account. So you gotta play the matrix. You know how it is. You gotta defeat the matrix.
That's for sure. There's always blocks in the way to what we want to do and learn and grow. And over the last decades, that's really what's happened. So that's why it's great for you to do these podcasts for people to could be enlightened. Which is really a great thing, great opportunity.
Yeah, man. Definitely. So the live chat's filling up. Okay, we're getting close now. We're at 550, 581. All right, let's get to 1,000 so we can crank this party up, guys. Make sure y'all share the video. If you're on Facebook, share the video. I've got 4 Facebook pages lit up right now. Let's share the video on Facebook, share the video on X, and of course, share the video from YouTube so we can go ahead and we can get this thing cranking. Tonight, we're going to have a great talk about the Anunnaki of Atlantis. We're going to talk about Thoth, the Emerald Tablets. We're going to talk about ancient Egypt, the new discovery that I've been talking about consistently about what's gone on underneath the pyramids at Giza. And I have some new information with regards to that as well. So it's going to be a great conversation tonight. All right. So make sure y'all put your seatbelts on, because it's going to be a wild ride. Okay. All right. So yeah, numbers are going up. All right, cool. Yeah. This is great. Let me see where we're at now. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Yes. X is doing good. X is filling up. 327 in X right now. X is leading the way. We're getting close to 700. All right, cool. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get the party started. And for everyone who's dialing in right now, like I said earlier, this is a very good friend of mine and business acquaintance. Chris is going to hop on here now. We're going to have a great conversation about the Anunnaki of Atlantis, Thoth, and the Emerald Tablets. And where did you want to start? What area did you want to start in?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's a privilege for me to be with you talking about this. But I know we want to talk about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the discovery beneath the pyramids, and also the Anunnaki, which is a very large subject. But I want to ask you a few questions, Billy, and try to extract from you information, not only for me, but for your audiences. And maybe we can go into some things, areas that maybe you might not have gone into if you're just doing it by yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So one of the things is in the Emerald Tablets, one of the biggest things that we learn about is Thoth's description of the halls of Amenti. And do you believe they physically exist beneath the pyramids, or do you think they're in a different dimension? Or I know I've heard different stories on this and listened to different things, but what's your opinion in regards to that?
Yeah, initially, to be honest with you, when I first read about it, I thought these could be in another dimension or even another realm, like maybe he went through a portal to get there. But the more I read, it seemed like it was a physical place here. And the reason why I then began to realize, the more I read about it, that was here on Earth, that there were many of them here on Earth, but they have them in different places too. But the reason why was because he said that he would he would fashion a body, put it inside of one of these rejuvenation chambers, and it would sit there for 100 years. And then he said, I would walk amongst men, but unlike a man. In other words, I'm walking right next to you. I'm talking to you. I'm interacting and engaging with you. And you don't even know that I'm not really, quote unquote, a man, a Homo sapien sapien. I'm from somewhere else. And that's when I finally downloaded that, understood it, discerned it. I realized he's trying to say, I'm here, like in this third dimension on this planet, and I'm engaging mankind in different ways. That's when I began to realize, like, yeah, this must be real. So I started looking for any clues as to what could be underneath the pyramids. And my good friend, Mohammed Ibrahim, who's one of the top guides and the top Egyptologists out there in Egypt, started taking me to places beneath the pyramids, showing me areas where the bedrock had been cut and opened up in a massive way. In one section, he showed me where the bedrock was cut and opened up to get beneath the plateau. And the size of these cuts of this bedrock is more magnificent than building the Great Pyramid itself. It showed me.
Yeah. I have a question, because obviously the halls of Amenti, you mentioned that he would go into these chambers to rejuvenate his body, and then he'd go live amongst men, transfer his consciousness into, I guess, an avatar body, right? Because he wouldn't take over another man's body. He'd actually, so obviously they created like a clone or avatar bodies, but it really didn't look like Thoth, right? It was a different like people, a Homo sapien or a human being. And then he'd go walk and live a normal life among men for basically 100 years. Right?
And then switch bodies.
He would go back into his original body.
Exactly what happened. And he did this 100 times 10. So you're talking about when you add the 100 years per body exchange in, you're talking 100,000 years. That's his words, not ours, right?
No, I know that, and I've read the same, which is very amazing. But I guess Thoth, I'm not sure when we go back to when Thoth originally was Enki's son, right? Ningishita, or
he was Enki's son coming out of ancient
Atlantis, right? Enki.
They built the Atlantean civilization. Correct. They put a halls of Amenti under the pyramids at Giza, and they put a halls of Amenti in Saqqara. Correct. So we know of two halls of Amenti that actually exist. The one in Saqqara was Enki's halls of Amenti. His dad also known as thought meat in the actual emerald tablets.
Sure.
And
Yes.
then and Thoth's halls of Amenti, the main one he utilized was located underneath the pyramids at Giza.
Yes. So do you feel, I mean, I know we're talking a lot about Thoth and the emerald tablets. Do you feel like Enki first created these halls of Amenti before Thoth, his son?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So they each had their own sarcophagus, right? So
right, they had their own. They had many. Each one of them had many sarcophagi. So, like in the one in that I'm going to take you to in a few months, when you come to Egypt with us and you're and your whole team, you're going to see them. You're going to touch them.
We want to see them too.
You're going to see them. You're going to look inside of them.
One of my fascinations about, we're all seeking immortality, right? Either to live again after we die, or it looks like the Anunnaki, especially the pantheon of the Anunnaki gods, at least Enki, Enlil, Anu, Thoth, and others, they figured out a way to basically have immortality if they weren't killed by a spear or a gun or something of that accident, right? They could rejuvenate their bodies and basically live forever, right?
Absolutely.
So what do you think, when do you think they actually started this, and why did they, I guess describe the sarcophagus, because I know you've described this. How large are these? And I would like to, I think this ties a lot into the pyramids and the different things underneath the pyramids, which we're going to get into later, because obviously these sarcophages, from your own information, you've seen that they've been warped, right? Something is on these granite stone.
An energy field.
And how big were they, Billy? How big?
First of all, they were massive. Some can be as much as 500-600 tons, 700 tons. Some can be as much as 1,500 tons. Okay. So you're talking about megalithic diorite, crystal diorite and crystal granite boxes that are cut from something almost 2/3 larger. So you can't take the larger piece and get it underground to these tight alcove or halls that are down there. You have to somehow create the box above ground and somehow then manifest it into these halls, so or maybe teleport them.
They teleported them down to the halls.
Right. So, and then when you're standing there, you'll be there in a few months with your whole family and your friends. You'll realize you're standing inside of a machine, and you'll look down the biggest hall and you'll see these alcoves out to the sides, and you'll realize that you're standing inside of a giant battery. And when I take my Geiger counter and show you on the Geiger counter readings that the background level radiation at each one of these diorite and crystal boxes is higher than normal, you're going to realize that then I'll take you into a secret room that hardly anyone knows even exists. We'll get a key and we'll unlock it, and we'll take our team, because we have a special VIP private visit, and I'll show you a 1,500 ton box that's about 4 feet taller than me, and I'm 6'4", right? And then it's got a radioactive, it's got a radioactive symbol on the lid, which is going to blow everybody away.
How many sarcophaguses are underneath there that he described, or that you've seen actually?
Right. So there's at least 10 good ones in the one that we'll go to in Saqqara, and underneath the Great Pyramid, we have no idea. They did find one, but we don't know how many other ones. Of course, when they opened it and they got inside, it was no body in there, because it's not for a dead person. These things are rejuvenation chambers. And in the Sumerian tablets, Enki talks about building his abode underground. And Lil says, I'm going to build my abode in the Apsu. And Enki says, I'm going to build underground. He created the underground kingdom. And these tunnels, there's an area in Egypt that I'll be going to in October, that in this underground area, the scientists and archaeologists that discovered it, they don't call it, tunnels. They call them avenues. Okay. And if you stand there with a laser pointer, a super high power laser pointer that can go more than 500 meters, right? And you point it in one direction, you can't get to the end of the avenue. There's no wall back there. It just keeps going and going and going. And what I've discovered now, being down there, is some of these avenues or tunnels, they go on for miles. One of them goes from the Giza Plateau all the way to the ziggurat of Ur in Iraq.
That's
We're talking
crazy.
about a super complex system,
right? That's about 800 miles.
Yes. Yeah.
Over 800 miles to go that. So if there's all these tunnels and all these ancient technologies down there, and we're going to talk about that, I know, more in depth, but and they all connect to all the pyramids and even Iraq. I mean, were they in this is what I thought about interesting today, but do you feel that the Anunnaki gods and all their other lineage or whatever the case might be, do you think they were doing their own high technology things like this to be away from the humans that lived above?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know,
There were two places.
They kept these secrets, right? They kept these secrets.
There were two places that they would live. They lived in two places. One was deep underneath the ground, okay, where they can be out of the eyesight of the humans, doing all their tech, their experiments, living, of course, and everything else that they were doing. The second place was mountaintops. So they were either in mountaintops or they were beneath the earth. Those are the two places where you'll find a lot of remnants and evidence that these beings were here. They did that because obviously very hard to reach the tops of mountains, but there are accounts of people going up mountains to talk to them, like Moses in the Bible going to the top of the mountain to talk to the burning bush. And we know that they had talked several times about being in the high, the high areas of different mountains where they could create their abode. And then, of course, the deep beneath the earth, they create their abodes as well. So those are the two places that they would do, again, for security and
that's kind
safety.
of how they set them up as gods, right? To be worshipped, because they kept all their hidden secrets from man, so to speak. And then we even worship them as gods. And they were so far advanced from us that to us, they were gods. If you don't die, if you're going to, I always say this to people, if your grandmother and your great grandmother and your great 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 grandmother and your great 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 grandmother knows the same deity that was you had to worship in the ziggurat, right? You think they were God, you would think they were mortal too, right?
Absolutely. It's we human beings have become a giant cargo cult. Like literally, we've become a cargo cult. We got engaged by a group of beings that look like us or kind of similar to us, that had advanced knowledge, advanced wisdom, advanced technology. And because we didn't have that, to us, they looked like gods. If people who are listening right now can imagine that we right now today, we leave Earth and we go fly to another planet and we land, and we've got AI built into a device on our hip, and it's sending information directly into the bone in our ear, so we don't even have to speak. And we see these people and we translate what they're saying instantly because we've got the AI automatic translator. We know exactly what they're saying. It's like they know our language. And then somebody brings a sick child out, and bless my child. And we analyze and we scan the kid. We realize, oh, he's got some type of illness, and we can decipher what the illness is. And then we can also ask the AI, what's the best cure for this kid's illness, and then it spits out the answer, and then we tell them, do this, 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 and this, and your child will be healed. And now the child recovers. Now we're gods,
It's kind of
this is what happened to us.
The series Star Trek, when they would go to different planets and they couldn't break the prime directive, right? They can only show so much, but then they're so far advanced that the people would worship them as gods right from the start. And that's the same thing you talk about in cargo cults. What, World War I and II, I guess, when they went to different islands and things like that, and they started worshiping the ships and the planes that the Army and the Navy came in on, right? And that's or the cans of food. That to them was something they'd worship because they'd never seen that before. And so that's really interesting. We're very much the same, right? But I have another question for you, and that is, when Thoth talks about being reincarnated, right? He went into these avatar bodies, and then his body was rejuvenated. A couple questions here. How do you think that relates? What did Thoth, do you think, come out as the same person, like the same body, where people, obviously when he comes out 100 years later, most of those people have passed away, but he comes out as a different person or a different god in a different area? Or does he go to different? I think he goes to different lands to teach the same things he teaches. That's one of the questions I have for you. And the follow-up question is, what kind of technology do you think that he or Enki or Enlil was using to do this? I mean, because this is very advanced stuff, but we're getting close to this now, right?
We're getting close to it. I talk about it in my book. I talk about it in the Compendium of the Emerald Tablet. So Thoth and his father, Enki, and hey, thank you, man, appreciate it. Yes, sir. I talked about this 5.5 years ago, including the stuff underneath the pyramids. But Thoth is an amazing being, but he definitely would look different in different parts of the world. Okay, in China, he was Wang Di, the first emperor of China. He arrived on a flying dragon. Okay, so he looked Asian. In
so
Australia,
that's what I'm trying to say. Would he contort his body?
No, he would just have different avatars. That's why he had so many sarcophagi. He had different avatars.
Oh, so he transfers consciousness into an avatar body that looked like the Chinese man for China. Okay, I didn't know that. That's very good information. So, but when he went back to his original body, he'd come back a Thoth, right? Or
yeah, he was Thoth the whole time. He just moved
from
different body to different body.
Consciousness, but would he come back? He would come back to live another 900 years.
Yes, he would do that as Thoth. Yes,
yeah.
Correct. As his original form. Yes, he would do that. See, today in our modern genetics, this is what we can do right now today, and anyone can Google this. We can take a skin cell from you. We can turn that skin cell into a stem cell. Under the right culture conditions, we could turn that stem cell into a group of stem cells, and then we can create a synthetic embryo of you, which is an actual clone of you. Now, they've been doing this in laboratories all over the world, and they claim they've been, killing these embryos before they go too far. Okay, but you already know there's mad scientists out there that have already grown full-grown clones from stem cells. Now, Thoth may have used a similar technique because we can only rediscover what already exists. We don't invent anything. We're not that great. What we do is we rediscover what already exists. And so if we just rediscovered this, it's probably already been used in the past by somebody else, and that could be the method that they're using. Now, within the boxes themselves, there's a couple of amazing things about the box. First of all, the boxes are very hard. They're made of diorite mostly, and sometimes granite, but mostly diorite and rose granite. But this diorite is like very high on the Mohs scale of hardness, okay? The Mohs scale of hardness. And then this crystal. Now, we know crystal is a powerful thing. The boxes are typically about 40% crystal. Now, the crystal, crystal stores energy.
Or diorite.
Crystal with diorite and crystal with the granite as well. It's in both, 40%.
So, Billy, what kind of energy or technology? Obviously, they're rejuvenating, right, or growing clones. What technology, in your opinion? I'm curious to what your answer is to this. Yeah. Do you think they were using? Is it artificial intelligence? Is it?
Oh no, I'm telling you right now. Yeah, so they utilized a technology that was based on crystals. Crystals are the key component in this technology because crystals can send and receive information. Crystals can replicate themselves. Crystals can also transmit energy. We know that when we look at a lighter,
by energy, right? They can also enhance the energy of electricity.
They enhance energy, correct. So now when you take a box that's already in some way energized with radioactivity, which is an enormous amount of energy, and somehow the energy is infused into these crystals, and inside the halls, as you look down the slots, going down these huge halls deep underground, you can tell that these things are connected almost like a battery system. So in some way, they were using this energy and these boxes and what other technology that we aren't aware of because they probably took them out of the boxes that would somehow, in some way, rejuvenate these avatars, these sleeves that they would jump into.
So do you think, Billy, that when Thoth and other Anunnaki gods or beings went down, they would go 10 at a time or 8 at a time? They'd go together to utilize the energy, or do you think they were just one at a time?
So each person had their own hall. Okay. So Thoth had his own halls in different locations, and Enki had his own, and the other 7 lords, they had their own halls in different locations, probably even on different planets. And so the halls of Amenti, the one that I'll take you to, all those will be filled with the bodies for Enki. Okay. They're all his. It's not a mixture of different people. It would be his.
He could go into different bodies at any time he would want to. And that's his consciousness, right?
Right. You just transfer the mind into a new body and keep it moving. That's what they used to do. And now to add credence to that, look what we've been rediscovering here in our modern times. In the book, as you probably know already, the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, which has been a bestseller for 5.5 years, I talk about transferring consciousness into a new avatar body by two methods, two programs that are going on right now today. The first one is the Avatar project coming out of DARPA. And so they developed this technology that allows a soldier to transfer his mind into a field robot and control the robot. Now it can also control drones. And that way, if the robot is blown up or the drone is shot down, the soldier's still alive. The symbiotic consciousness connection is disconnected. That's the only thing that happens. The other one is 2045, the 2045 project coming out of Russia. Ray Kurzweil has a project transferring the consciousness into a computer, which they've already done that with a monkey, transferring a human mind into a connecting with a robot, like Avatar project has done with DARPA, which they've already done that. And by 2045, the ultimate goal is to transfer your mind or consciousness into another sleeve or even a digital medium so that you can become immortal. And this is where they're going. But where'd they get this stuff? Where'd they get the idea for all of this? From the Emerald tablets.
I have a couple questions that relates to that. Do you feel that do you feel like this is the way of the future for our race, that we are going to get to a point where the elites or the wealthy are going to be able to transfer their consciousness into an avatar body or renew their own bodies in a sarcophagus type of technology? Do you feel that that's where we're headed? Do you feel that we can do that in the future?
Oh, for sure. And this is why it's important for us, the population, to take back control of this planet. Because if we don't take back control of this planet from these elite oligarchs, the next thing they're going to start doing is selling us time. Oh, you want to live to be 50?
Like the movie On Time with Justin Timberlake. You've seen that.
1,000%. That movie is a documentary.
And they rejuvenate themselves back to 25. They always stay, 25 to 30, whatever that is. That part. That's a good movie. Yeah, that's very good. I have another question for you. So when you read the Sumerian text, obviously Enki and Enlil, Enki came to the planet first 452,000 years ago or so, and then he started mining gold, and he had these Agigi and the other Anunnaki with him. And how long before and then didn't they realize that they were aging quicker than normal being on this planet because of the radiation?
Because of the gravity and the orbit of this planet around the sun.
Correct, because 1 year for them is like 3,600 years for us. And when Anu came to visit them, right, he noticed that they had aged a lot. So when do you think they decided to start doing this type of thing along the way? Because obviously they were here for a long period of time before they even created us, right? So and the King's List verifies that, right? The King's List of all the kings that
the Sumerian King's List, located in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. It gives you the reign of kings over the earth, and
how long do those kings have control? Each one was thousands and thousands of years, right?
28,800 years, 36,000 years. One king ruled for 36,000 years. One king ruled for 14,400 years. One king ruled for 7,800 years. I mean, the time periods of ruling are astronomical. And then after the Great Flood came, the kingship was handed down to the human beings, but not just the human beings, but specific human beings. In other words, demigods. So it would be the son or offspring of one of these Anunnaki and a human being that would be positioned as a king or a pharaoh in different places. And then they would be the liaison between them and the human beings after the Great Flood, according to this Sumerian tablet located in the museum in England, not according to Billy Carson. So I think that they started this rejuvenation process. I think they already knew about it, but they probably, for whatever reason, just hadn't really. Some of the gods hadn't, gods with a lowercase g, some of them hadn't actually utilized it, and some were using it. For whatever reason, some of them weren't using it. It's unclear why. Maybe they were missing some piece or parts of technology that they needed to wait for it to arrive, or whatever the case may be. Who knows? But in some way, some of them were not utilizing that rejuvenation technology.
How, Billy, how far advanced do you feel the Anunnaki are compared to us? How far, man. I mean, where would you, based on, I've heard they had an IQ like 1,000. I don't know, and that their technology was so far advanced. They were so much more intelligent than us. But the thing that I find very fascinating was Enki, who was fashioned us with the hominid on this planet. They spliced the DNA in an egg and put it into a Anunnaki woman.
Yeah.
to create the first, Homo sapiens, and then they later learned how to reproduce and all that stuff. But what do you think where do you think he started with this progression of this? And they needed workers, and then they had to advance this. But where do you think he was trying to? He knew that we had enlightened spirits in our bodies, unlike other beings, right? So he knew that we could grow. I always feel like I have a kinship to Enki, because I feel like he's called the Lord in the Bible, or Ea, but it seemed like he was the one that was benevolent to the humans who he created, and he wanted the best for us, unlike Enlil. Can you extrapolate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. And in terms of like the first part of the question, like how old are they? I believe that civilization, that Anunnaki Atlantean civilization, or that culture, is at least 1 million years ahead of us, at least 1 million years ahead of us, because they landed on Earth about 455,000 years ago. So that in itself is like telling. The fact that they had interplanetary capability almost 500,000 years ago lets you know how far
they had to, because obviously they must have started out similar to us, and grew, and with knowledge and technology and discovering different things, which is absolutely amazing. And the thing about this, Billy, when you start to, I know in my journey with this, which started over 30 years ago, when I first read Zechariah Stitchin's books, The Earth Chronicles, and that's kind of got me off. And like, wow, what is this? So different than what I've learned. And then it led to other things and other things. But what's fascinating is that it gives you a different paradigm of where we come from. It doesn't change who we are. It doesn't change that there's a creator God. It doesn't change that we believe in a God, but it does change a few things in regards to religious things that we've been put through, and a lot of different things that we need a mediator between God and man, and those types of things. But it's really interesting, and I've heard that they probably did this on other planets too. That
they've done this. They've done this for a very long time. And yes, you're right about it. They even knew that they were not real gods, because they said that the creator of all they would have to answer to the creator of all. They knew that there was a creator of all. In other words, they knew that there was a God, entity or energy or universal force, or whatever you want to call it. They knew that it was not them, because they said they would answer for what they had done here, because they knew they had kind of violated a protocol in the way that they had engaged mankind, and really beguiled us and masqueraded as gods, and then enslaved us. So they had kind of violated that prime directive.
And I believe, in my opinion, this is my opinion coming from Chris Jensen, I believe that slavery was invented by them on this planet. That's where slavery comes from.
For sure.
Yeah, people think it comes, but they enslaved every race they created, right? And
every race.
And if you read the text, apparently they had different operations in different lands, each different Anunnaki. There's, Anu, Enki, Enlil. That was the Trinity. We get the Trinity. And then they had the 12 other gods below them, kind of like, today you've got the Trinity, Jesus, the Holy Ghost, and, all that stuff. But then you've got these 12 apostles, or the 12 gods beneath them, and they cover different areas of the planet, right? They had their own different geographical areas. I guess they decided, I don't know who decided that, maybe Anu or
Anu had the planet chopped into pieces. They ruled over different parts of the earth. This is why Atlantis was a global civilization. Atlantis wasn't just a ring city. That was just one capital of dozens of capitals that existed. And they did rule over mankind in different regions of the planet, and every single race of person that had ever existed on this planet has been enslaved at one point in the past. And guess what? The Anunnaki themselves had to learn that from somebody as well. So sometime in their past, they may have been enslaved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where does that take us now in regards to? Do you feel that the Anunnaki are still around on this planet?
Oh yeah, for a fact.
Enki, Anu, that they're still alive. Do you think they're coming back?
I think it's a possibility that some of them the offspring of some of them are still here on this planet. As you read probably in the ancient text, the last pyramid war was so brutal. They released a weapon, a WMD, a weapon of mass destruction. And this weapon brought the evil wind across the land. And Enki went to his father and he said, Father, Anu, can you please stop the evil wind? Their hair is falling out. Their eyes are bleeding. Their fingernails are falling off. He's talking about radiation sickness. He said it's killing all the animals and it's killing the black-faced people of the land. And his father said to him, Enki, I cannot stop the evil wind. Get in your skyship and forebode. That means get in your plane or your rocket and get the hell out of here because I can't stop this. And I think that some of them survived.
Yes. And that's the fascinating things about them. You know, it's advanced technology and they're ahead of us, but it seems like they were warring gods. They were always fighting with each other.
Always fighting. Always fighting. Oh my God, they were fighting.
You know, you've got, you know, in the Bible, it talks a lot about Babylon and whenever David went in to kill, you know, fight or Saul, you know, he said, what's interesting, he said, not only kill the men, the children, all the animals,
everything, the babies,
and everything, babies, except for the virgins, you know?
Yeah. Don't kill the virgins.
Yeah.
If they don't, this is the Bible. Don't kill the virgins.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that very fascinating and not to get off the subject, but so what type of do you think that the tablets, the emerald tablets, are able to manipulate matter or even access new higher realms of existence?
Oh yeah, for sure. So
something
that we just discovered.
How do you feel that's happening?
Well, I'll tell you right now. So we just recently discovered something in a laboratory. We meaning not me, Billy Carson, but actual real scientists in a laboratory setting 2 years ago. They duplicated something talked about in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, where Thoth talks about taking photons and cymatic frequencies and combining those two things together to create or manifest solid matter. So according to him, some of the stuff he built was manifested, right? And it sounds like magic. But 2 years ago in a laboratory, scientists got together and they took photons and cymatic frequencies, sound, and they were able to create solid matter for the very first time. Again, I wrote this book 5.5 years ago. Scientists just did this 2 years ago. Okay, so these tablets have some knowledge in them because it seems like everything that's talked about in these tablets is coming to fruition one step at a time. It's like was so way ahead of the game.
And that's what, you know, that's what I love about this journey I've been on. And I know you've been on this journey, and that's kind of how we hit it off, is that everything, you know, I find that I have a line, I just go where the evidence leads me. There's no emotion here. Like, if you study something and it leads you to this, that's what it is. And that's kind of what my journey has been with this. It's just studying the tablets, the emerald tablets, the Sumerian texts, reading all the other ancient literature and manuscripts, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and all the books that are not in the Bible, you know, like the Ethiopian Bible I've got behind me here. You realize there's just so much information out there that we don't know, that we've been taught just the outline of what the truth is. Almost like in Genesis, I know the Masorite, the original Masorite text of the Bible, you know, in Genesis, in that one, it says, and God created the heavens and the earth and created the Elohim, and the Elohim created man in his own image, which is different than the King James version.
Way different, isn't it?
They leave out the Elohim. So who are the Elohim, right?
Yeah.
So you know, I remember when I first came across that, I was like, whoa, this is totally different, because I thought God created us in his own image. That's one thing I could never understand, you know, going to church and everything, is that what does God look like? You know, and now I know is the Elohim created us, and we look like them.
We look like them. We look like the Elohim.
Yeah,
we look just like the Elohim. So let me tell you something about this. I'm glad you brought this up. So there's been a scientific study, a genetic study on human beings, the differences between races of people. Okay. Now, growing up, I was taught that I'm black because my ancestors were out in the sun in Africa, and you're Caucasian because your ancestors were in the mountains of the Caucasus Mountains of Russia or whatever. And I used to always scratch my head about that. Okay. But what I did find out, this science, check this out. They found out that there's a 2% variance between races of people. Now, it sounds like a small number when you say 2%. However, geneticists all say the same thing. They agree on the same thing. It would take millions more years of regular, standard, old-fashioned evolution for that genetic mutation to naturally occur. So they're calling this an artificial mutation. The fact that we're different races is because of an artificial mutation, and the 2% variance shouldn't even be there. Not in 200,000 years.
Sure.
It shouldn't be there. Now, here's where this is now my hypothesis. This is not science. This isn't anything I read.
This is
Billy Carson's hypothesis. Now I'm going to get to my hypothesis, because that's what I do. I connect the dots. If you have a farm and you have cows on your farm, right? You're Farmer Jim. You brand your cows. And why do you do that? Because if your cow walks down the road, they go, that's Farmer Jim's cow.
You own them, right? You own
the cow. It's yours. Now, the people that we're talking about earlier, these Anunnaki who ruled over different regions of the planet according to the ancient text, not according to us. And if you notice that the people that they ruled over always looked like them, I think that they put a genetic brand on the people. So when you see me, Billy Carson, these are his people. They all have these same characteristics. You see Chris Jensen's people, they all have the same characteristics because they're being ruled over by this guy.
And you see that in the world today. You see that in the world today in just different areas.
Yeah.
The other thing, and please give me your opinion on this, but when Inky made the first humans, right? Adapa, Tiamat, and I know that took a while. It just didn't happen. It took thousands of years to get it right. But when he did get it right, okay, what avenues, or how did he adjust from there? Because the certain humans that were created first, they all had dark skin and black hair, according to the text, right? And this isn't according to Chris Jensen, right?
Right.
So was that the first race created?
It was the first race created.
The black race?
The black race was the first race created according to the text. It's the black race was the first race.
By the way, I love all races. This is just this. I'm just talking about the text, but I always found that interesting. And the first race of man was in South Africa, correct? According to the text.
Correct.
The other thing that I found fascinating, I know you've done a lot of research on this. If you study our mitochondrial DNA, it goes back 200,000 years to the first Eve, which is in South Africa.
That's right.
Which is amazing. So scientifically, it matches up exactly with what the texts are saying. And that's what, Billy, I've just proven that what you're saying is good. All right. You can debunk the debunkers. Okay. But what I'm trying to say is the more you study this stuff, the more you dig your heels in. All right. Or uncover new information. It seems to lead back to the same thing.
Yes.
From heaven to earth they came. The Anunnaki. Yeah. Okay. From Inky came here first to mine gold. And why is gold so valuable today? Why gold? Why not quartz? Why not? You know what I mean? Why do we put such a value on gold?
I have a good question. I have a good answer to that. I have a great answer to that question. So human beings have been beguiled. The general population has been beguiled into believing gold is great for jewelry. Let me put on this nice gold bracelet. I've got a watch here, right, with a nice gold bezel. If I can give you a nice gold chain, or I got gold, plating on my stuff in my house, and it looks phenomenal. So we've been beguiled into believing that gold has value because it's decorative. But gold is not just decorative. That's the illusion that they have us. We took that hook, line, and sinker, and we bit our teeth into that so hard, we don't realize that, no, gold fuels technology, and you can't be an advanced race in any way, shape, or form without gold, right? Because you need gold for microprocessors. You need gold for satellite technology. Gold is amazing in that when
it's the best conductor of electricity too.
It conducts electricity. So if I put energy in on point A on a gold wire, at the end of that wire in point B, I'm going to get the same amount of energy. But if it's a copper wire, even with insulation, I'm going to lose some of that energy in friction. Okay. Gold also reflects the sun. It reflects radioactivity or radioactive the radioactive field, right? So it reflects back that the light coming in from the sun that's harmful to us. It does so many things technologically that it's incredible. You can't have a cell phone running without gold inside of it. There's gold inside this cell phone, and making it function properly. can't have a radiation hardened computer circuit board in a starship or a spaceship or a rocket ship, because that's what it requires, gold. All this stuff is about technology, advanced technology. That's why we had the We Buy Gold thing that went around the planet. We buy gold, we buy gold, we buy gold. They were buying back gold like crazy years ago. Who was getting that gold? The gold, I followed the doggone rabbit hole. It went all the way back to the government. It was a government-sponsored project. They needed a lot of gold back. What were they doing with that gold? I believe they were using it for advanced technology. So gold is technological, not decorative.
Correct. Yes, and I find that fascinating. The other thing, it's
also for healing the body, by the way. You can heal the body with gold.
Correct. So I'm sure the gold was used possibly in these sarcophaguses in the halls of Amenti.
Yes.
Probably.
They found gold aurum, the monoatomic gold powder.
And monatomic gold, we know about that. And you could talk a million things about how that's good for you, right? For not only technology and other applications. We won't talk about that now. But the other thing that Thoth talks about is he says in the Emerald Tablets that his Emerald Tablets are for the enlightened and for the worthy. Those that are worthy and enlightened at a time will be revealed to them. So does that mean today a lot of this information is coming out like never before? When I first started studying this, if I talked to somebody about this, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't talk to people about this because I thought I was crazy. And you know what I mean? They thought I was crazy. But what I said earlier is I go where the evidence leads me, right? And I think you've done the same. So what does that mean? The worthy or enlightened will be revealed, the hidden mysteries of the Emerald Tablets.
Yeah, we're talking about the fact that the adept initiates, the select few that have taken the energy, and I say a few, we're still talking about a lot of people compared to the 8 billion people on Earth. It's a small number, but when you talk about how many people are actually researching and investigating this information, you're talking about millions of people right now. And the adept initiates, the people that have taken it upon themselves to research, investigate, read, study, discern, and learn what's within these tablets. And the more they read them, the more enlightenment they gain. And so it's for the adept initiate, the one that is initiating themselves into the mysteries to learn the secrets that have been held in a time capsule of information and knowledge waiting for us in this day, in this time, in this era, to be able to decode and understand exactly what it is, to utilize it for spiritual enlightenment, and also to understand the different levels that mankind must get to achieve a golden age. And so that's what's really going on. And Thoth did a phenomenal job in encoding this wisdom into this text. It's really most of it's meant for the time that we're living in right now, the information age, the age of Aquarius, which we just entered the age of Aquarius, to where we can now take this knowledge and actually apply it all and change the world for the better.
Yes. Do you feel with this information, when you read the Emerald Tablets, Thoth says the more you're enlightened or receive light, and it's interesting because a lot of things that Thoth teaches are the same thing that Jesus or Yeshua taught. But Jesus says, as you gain more light or spirituality, however you want to define that. But there's something about light, that light, light never decays either, right? It just keeps expanding and going, and as you learn about quantum physics and those types of things. So is it that we become more enlightened and therefore we're open to this information and we're ready to hear it? I think that's what Thoth is talking about. What do you think?
Absolutely. What happens is we have been consistently raising our level of consciousness. So a person that's a caveman, they have a certain level of consciousness. They can have empathy, they can feel love, they can remorse, bury their dead and everything else, but they can only get to a certain level. And us in this day and age, we've achieved a very high level of the ability to achieve the high level of consciousness. And so from a caveman to all the way here, we can look back and see where we have risen from. So we've risen from a state of a bronze age, and we're in a silver age heading back towards a golden age consciously. So that means that this is the time period. And Thoth says something very interesting in one of his writings. He says, wise words written by my decaying hand remain imperishable through time, imbued with the medicine of immortality by the All-Master. He says, be unseen and undiscovered by all those who will come and go, wandering the wastelands of life. Be hidden until an older heaven, which is now, births human beings who are worthy of your wisdom. Those are the last words of Thoth, and that we know of. And he's saying that under this new heaven, this is the heaven, this sky that we're under, this time period we're living in right now, has birthed human beings that are worthy of the wisdom. He's talking about us.
Absolutely, and he talks about many other things in how to be enlightened. One of the things he says, it's really interesting. A lot of people study the law of attraction and how to manifest, but if Thoth says, he says, put a thought in your mind and visualize it and focus on your attention on it, and it will come to be. He says that in the Emerald Tablets, basically, right? And the thing is, so Thoth parallels a lot of things that. Do you think Thoth could be Jesus? I'm just going to ask you the question.
I think it's quite possible. See, there's so many things you just can't rule it out. When you begin to research the teachings of Jesus in the Bible, and then you research the text of Thoth from the Emerald Tablets, you see striking similarities that cannot be avoided. They're not direct copied word for word, but they're extreme parallels. And these extreme parallels are so extreme, it makes you scratch your head and say, I wonder if Thoth decided this time I won't incarnate into an avatar, but maybe I'll come through the womb and grow and learn what it's like to grow up as an actual human being, coming from birth and rising back up again. So it's quite possible. It's not. There's nowhere written that that's a fact.
I know we're speculating, but from the information that you read and you keep studying it, it definitely correlates with some new ideas and paradigms. And I find that fascinating. I have a question for you. In Thoth, and we're going to go on to a different subject here soon, but one of the things he said is that he would go out and look at the stars and meditate and imagine himself going to other stars and planets and things like that. Yeah. And then there came a time in the temple, I guess it was Enki's temple, where he went down and met with the dweller. The dweller
of Udal.
The dweller of Udal. Yeah. Who is the dweller of Udal? Is it that's one thing I'm just curious about. I've never understood that.
It's curious because it seems like it could be one of these masters, or it could even be Enki. It's not really clear as to who the dweller of Udal.
From his father, all these things, Enki.
Right, right.
And then the dweller of Udal gave him permission and granted him immortality. I think
immortality.
But when he granted him immortality, did he just give him access to the knowledge of how to be immortal through these avatar bodies and to renew his own body? Do you think that's what?
I think that you get this, these technologies work on frequencies. And I think once you get the approval, because there's two things that use frequencies in some of the ancient texts. Walking through stargates or the Duran key, you had to have your frequency of your body programmed into the gate, or you couldn't walk through it. You'd be obliterated. You need something called a Jed Pillar Ankh. And I believe that if that's the case with that technology, and the portals were usually inside of the halls of Amenti, because they would talk about the fact that they would go down there for also going through portal travel, but also to rejuvenate bodies. So they're in the same location underneath Giza and other places. So in my opinion, it could be that he was now granted the frequency for rejuvenation. So I couldn't take my body and throw it in the box and come back and my body would be brand new. Only his body would work.
You'd have to be at a level of enlightenment or vibrational frequency to be able to do that. Yeah. The other thing is kind of funny, but if you read the Sumerian text in them, it's, when the flood came, Enlil came back, right? He saw them burning, making sacrifices, burning, I don't know, a lamb or something that Noah and his sons were doing, right? And he came back down. And remember, he was very angry because he thought all of the humans would be killed. But then Enki stepped in and said, no, this is Zidrasudra. This is my son, right?
Yes.
You can't. And then Enlil had compassion and said he granted him immortal life. Well, how does he grant immortal life? He's not, he doesn't have, I don't think he had a wand that tapped him and said, now you're immortal.
Yeah, it's technology.
Think he gave him access to the sarcophagus in the halls of Amenti of how to be immortal, and granted him entrance into that. That's just my opinion.
That's exactly what it is.
In my opinion, not based on what I read in the Sumerian text, which I find fascinating, because these Anunnaki gods were granting people immortal life.
So even Gilgamesh went on a journey and finally tried to get back to get the immortality, and they told him he couldn't have the immortality. But somebody pointed.
I never understood why he wasn't granted that, because he was a third Anunnaki or something like that.
Right.
And he was a giant man, like 16, 18 feet tall, according to
big dude.
The writings. So
wow.
Okay. Thank you for answering this question. That's really good. We're going to move to a little bit different subject. Focus a little bit. Go ahead.
Before we start on this new topic, let me just run one commercial real quick. All right, check this out, guys. Forbidden Knowledge is in round 4 of raising capital. You can become a shareholder of Forbidden Knowledge. Now, Forbidden Knowledge is not just a YouTube channel. Forbidden Knowledge is a huge company that has streaming TV apps with over 4,000 shows. We have a book publishing company with 11 books in publication and distribution worldwide. We have, of course, YouTube and social media platforms. We also have an e-commerce department. So we sell products and syrup. You can want to buy a watch like this. You can get it on our website, forbiddenknowledge.com. And we also have tours and events all around the world. As a matter of fact, Chris Jensen's coming with us and his whole family and friends on the Forbidden Tour of Egypt in October. So all that's encompassed into one company. If you want to learn how you can become an investor in Forbidden Knowledge, I'll drop a quick video and a link in the live chat. Hey everyone, it's Billy Carson here, aka Forbidden Knowledge. If you ever wanted to invest in a company that's going places, you need to take a look at us. Remember, in round 1, shares were only $1 per share, as our pre-money valuation came in at $20 million. Not bad for a startup, right? Well, we did phenomenal numbers, and months later, our pre-money valuation went up to $30 million. And after an updated audit, our pre-money valuation went up again to $50 million as we continue to grow and expand the company. Well, our most recent audit has been completed, and our pre-money valuation has gone up to $55 million, and share prices have gone up again. So if you ever wanted to invest in a startup, you should take a look at Forbidden Knowledge. And make sure you click the link and read up on all the information about us to make an educated decision to join the Forbidden Knowledge family today. All right, we're back. Thank you. And again, the link is in the live chat, also in the caption of this video or audio, wherever you're watching it. All right, so yes, Chris, back to the next question.
Sure. I want to move on to the pyramids, what they've found and different things. But a couple things I'm going to give you a little advertisement here. You wrote another book, I believe, about the 2 tablets that were held to a certain time that you can buy on Amazon.
Mysteries of the Forbidden Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
Correct. And I have that book. Billy, I don't know, but doesn't that talk a little bit about stargates and different portals or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about stargates and portals.
You want to say anything about that before we get into because that might relate to these technologies underneath the pyramids. So
absolutely.
Just elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. There were 2 tablets that were missing. This is my newest book that just came out. It's The Mysteries of the Forbidden Emerald Tablets of Thoth. It's available on Amazon or our website, forbiddenknowledge.com. And in here, there's a lot of cymatic frequencies that are to be uttered. And there's a specific way to utter these frequencies to enter specific realms and gates. And Thoth teaches us these frequencies. And so what I did was I turned the frequencies into QR codes so that you can scan them and it'll take you to a website where you can hear me pronounce them the proper and correct way so that you can then copy what I'm saying and duplicate it. But he's talking about the gates of Arulu. He's talking about going into these portals and stargates. He's talking about even entering higher dimensions, which is why probably those tablets used to be forbidden to mankind, because it's talking about portal travel, not just on Earth, but even interplanetary and also multidimensionality, going into upper and higher dimensions. It even gives you a clue or a teaching on how to enter a higher dimension for a short period of time, but that you couldn't stay there because there's rules, but that you can go there and you can see it and experience it and come right back. Just incredible stuff. And it gives you the cymatic frequencies on exactly how to achieve this, which is just mind-blowing. So that's in the Mysteries of the Forbidden Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.
I just want to say that is a fascinating book that you wrote. And the thing about it is, we know there were stargates on the planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
And didn't our military the U.S. military go in Iraq to try to get the Stargate?
Oh, yeah.
One of the things they did to the ancient museums, they went there because they thought if whoever owned this technology could go to other planets or other places in the galaxy,
or bring people here.
That's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
To have,
absolutely.
Which comes from the Emerald Tablets. Thoth traveled to different planets, did he not? And saw
he traveled
and different things, and then came back. So I find that extremely interesting that he's able to do that. That means that eventually we should be able to do that.
Exactly. We're only going to duplicate what he did. He's teaching us. Thoth said, many of the worlds that I've traveled, many of the races of men on their worlds, rising to the heights and plummeting to the depths, moving in times and realms of brightness, but always gaining and seeking the light. So he's talking about the fact that mankind is abundant throughout the universe, number one, that this form of being may not look identical, but this format, right, is abundant, number one. Number two, there's many races on many worlds. So this planet is not a unicorn. This is standard. What many races on this world means many races on many worlds. And then he goes on to talk about the fact that
I grew up believing in that, just going, in the LDS, really, we believe there's many worlds and many places to go. That was taught in that theology. Let's talk about the pyramids. I find these new discoveries are so enlightening, and Thoth said they would be revealed at a later time. Did he not?
Yeah.
And we, in your book, The Emerald Tablets, and he said that would be revealed to the world when ready. I guess the question I have, do you feel that what they're finding, do you think they're telling us everything about what they found, or are we just getting fed tidbits of information?
No, we're getting good information from this particular team, because this team, let me just get
here. I don't know. Do you feel that this information has been withheld from other people or whatever the case might be?
Before this came out, I think that they knew that there was something massive down there, but they didn't want to talk about it, and they didn't want to even have anybody dig to find out exactly what it was. But I do believe that because of the opening that I was talking about in the beginning, where these megalithic bedrock cuts were found, where they opened up the Giza Plateau, this would have made a gaping wide hole on the top soil, on the top of the desert there, where they can then go in and build this structure. And then they closed it back up and sealed it back up, and you can see the seams where the bedrock was put back together. This is what I'll show you when we go to Egypt. It's mind-blowing. So they had to have known that something was done down there, but this satellite that was positioned above Giza from space scanned the area with a SAR technology that used a 10 gigahertz frequency, which allowed it to resonate all the way down and then pick up the minute vibrations in the earth and pick up the empty spaces versus solid locations to create this amazing rendering of what we see here. So it created this image of what's really beneath the pyramids by filling in and taking away empty spaces. And now we know that this is what it looks like down there. And we're talking about, now, to give you an idea, the feat of doing this, it makes the pyramids look like child's play.
Yes. Because it's like the tip of the iceberg, right?
It's the tip of the iceberg, literally. I mean, if you were to go and say to a developer, this is what I want to do, they're going to say, huh? Okay, $50 trillion and give me 20 years, all right?
Exactly.
Now, let's take a look at this real quick. Check this out. The pyramids on the left, all right? To the right, you have the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on the planet. I've been to the top of the Burj Khalifa. When you look over out of the Burj Khalifa, everything beneath it looks like an ant. Even the skyscrapers beneath it look like ants, okay, in Dubai. Look at this. This is the Burj Khalifa.
That's amazing. Yeah.
You can fit probably, who knows, 8 of these suckers down here if you stack them.
So Billy, this is a rhetorical question, but how did the slaves build this?
With chicken bones and copper chisels.
Yeah.
And by the way, everyone who's listening right now, if you want to come to Egypt with Chris and I and experience what we're about to go experience, we're getting ready to go on a crazy journey in Egypt. If you want to come with us, I'm going to drop the link in the live chat right now. You guys can fill out a registration form, okay? You can fill out a registration form and you can come and hang out with us in Egypt for 2 weeks and see some of the most amazing things you never thought even existed. We're going to show you things that are going to blow your mind. We'll take you 65 meters beneath the bedrock underneath the Great Pyramid. We'll take you to hidden chambers and rooms that nobody talks about on TV because they just can't. We'll take you to places like the halls of Amenti, where you'll see me and my wife right here. We're sitting on one of the rejuvenation chambers right here. We'll take you to see things that'll just blow your mind, and we'll have you coming back to this, wherever you're from, whatever country you're going back to, completely enlightened and feeling like you're totally an alien, because what you now know, what you've seen and touched, you can barely explain it to anybody. They'll never grasp the fullness of what it is. Okay, they'll just never grasp it. But yes, there's an amazing thing underneath the pyramid structure. And when you really look at this and figure, you can fit about 8 or 9, maybe 10 or 12 Burj Khalifas underneath the plateau. And it's all built. And some of these columns might be just as big as a Burj Khalifa. Your mind's got to explode, because then it means the pyramids are just child's play. The pyramids are nothing compared to what's beneath. And I've got some new scans, by the way, Chris. I've got some new scans that I haven't released yet. I have some new LiDAR scans which show the energy moving around underneath the pyramids.
And that's now, right?
Yeah.
That's now. So what kind of power, what do you think? Describe to me, in your opinion, what kind of energy generators were they created, or do you feel these were to create energy? And they say the pyramids that were capped in limestone and gold or whatever, the cap.
Gold capstones.
Gold capstones. So do you think that was powering energy to go up through the pyramid?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Spaceships or other energy systems.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they had to keep this below because they didn't want the other people to see all this stuff, right? Because these are huge spaces underneath the earth. And
massive.
These tunnels go to Iraq and all the other pyramids and who knows. So we could never build that. I don't even know if we could build this today. I mean,
it'd be extremely hard. If we did do it, it might take decades, and it would take trillions of dollars to do it. It wouldn't be an easy task. Imagine what it took for them just to build the Burj Khalifa above ground. Imagine the resources, the construction, the architecture, the engineering, and everything that went into that. And then now duplicate that 8 to 10 times underneath the pyramid, beneath the ground, which means you got to remove the actual earth. You can't build it there without removing earth. If you're building above ground, well, there's no earth to remove, unless, of course, you have to make the foundation. But that's about it.
According to the Sumerian text, not Chris Jensen, obviously they were mining gold, right, for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
They had spaceships that would apparently, according to the text, take this gold to Mars, or I know there was a base on the moon. I don't know if they took gold to the moon, but I know for sure they were exporting gold to the moon.
Yeah, gold and resources they would take to the moon and Mars.
Didn't they have to power up their ships and all the technology they were doing? Do you feel that all the pyramids are basically power plants?
Not all of them. I think that the different pyramids have different functions.
Different functions, yeah. But do you think
some of them are power plants
with all these coils and columns that go down 2,000, 3,000 feet?
Giant machines.
Yeah, I think these were giant power plants.
Giant power plant.
We see
they were multifunctional. They had multi-purpose. The Great Pyramid itself, multi-purpose. It's a power generator. Number one. Number two, it's also a stabilizer on the earth. Number three, it also moved energy underneath the ground into different areas to power these underground cities that exist down there. Number four, it had powered and hid portal technology. Number four, it also powered and controlled and secured the halls of Amenti, where they would have these rejuvenation chambers. And who knows what else they were able to combine into this one structure, which is just mind-boggling. The pyramid at Doja, which you'll go see, will take you to the bent pyramid. And inside the bent pyramid, you'll find out that it's really a gigantic diagnostics tool to do a form of what we call X-ray, but not really X-ray. They utilize a different technique to create the vision of what's inside a person's body to diagnose an illness. That's inside the bent pyramid. The bent pyramid is not bent by accident.
Do you think they're using 0-point technology?
They had to have. They had to have. They have the symbol for 0-point technology in another place. We're going to go together. We're going to go to the Osirian.
Also, Tesla's wireless electricity.
Well, that's the Great Pyramid. That's the Great Pyramid. Yeah. But the 0-point energy, you're going to see the symbol for that at the Osirian. We're going to go down the Osirian in Abydos beneath Seti, the first temple, and you're going to see etched into the columns the flower of life, which is really the symbol for 0-point energy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the Anunnaki here and their connection. You know, the Emerald Tablets speak of the children of light, that the children of light would watch humanity, and then they would come down, and also the sons of the serpent. Do you think this is a reference to the different Anunnaki factions? And do you think it's Inky versus, you know, there was the Inky lights or whatever, and the Inalites, you know, that certain people followed Enlil and Inky, because they were always fighting against each other, correct? So,
they just had different factions, and the serpent is wisdom. So even the serpent that visited Adam and Eve in the garden is just a metaphor for Enki showing up to give them wisdom. Enki went into the garden, which was an outdoor laboratory, basically, and said, "Hey guys, y'all ain't animals, okay? So you're on the same level as us. So put on some damn clothes, and let me tell you, sit down, let me give you some knowledge." And once they got that knowledge,
give us the knowledge like the God. You'll know like the God.
Yeah. And once they got the knowledge, they woke up. And once they woke up, they realized, holy crap, this whole world is an illusion. What they've got us in is an illusion. And that's when they realized who they truly were.
Then when Enlil found that out, he was very angry and had to kick them out.
Pissed.
Because they would pollute the other beings. Because once they knew that they could be like Inky or the gods, that they could ascend or whatever, or be enlightened or reach their vibration and learn just like them. That means that the Anunnaki or Enlil and the other, they start to lose control because, and I think that's where they, at a certain time, I think it was, I'm not sure, according to the text, we've talked about this before, Billy, by 2500 BC or something. I don't know exactly when that was, where a lot of them left, and then they started their own kingships and priests. And the Merusian, they're different bloodlines from the Anunnaki. Those are the ones that became the kings and the priests and had control. And you could go on and on with the Rothschilds. And
that's when Anunnaki transferred from being those who came from heaven to earth. It transferred into royal bloodline.
Correct.
And that's the current definition now, royal bloodline.
Yes.
But the original meaning was those who came from heaven to earth. But now the meaning of Anunnaki, and how would I know this for a fact, is I have one of my license plates is Anunnaki. And when they do that, they pull up the definition so that cops can know if they pull you over, what the hell is this supposed to mean? And it means royal bloodline, descended from a royal bloodline.
I always tell my kids I'm an Anunnaki god. They laugh, meaning that once you learn all these things, you can be. And Jesus taught this: know ye not that you're God's in embryo, that you can be just like God, that we are God, that we're all connected, that we all share the same thing, and that we all come from God. And I think that's what they knew. They knew that they were breaking a prime directive, so to speak, or that they did something that wasn't right, and that they would eventually have to pay for that, either in their karmic circle or whatever that would be, which I find fascinating. So do you feel that that all this new information and the Emerald Tablets, how do you feel it all aligns with the Sumerian texts?
Oh man, first of all, the Sumerian texts and the Emerald Tablets, they align perfectly because you could see the correlation between, for example, in the Sumerian text, we have the Sumerian kings list, and it talks about everything pre-diluvial, before the flood.
Sure.
And then as it gets to the flood, and it talks about the flood running over the land and destroying everything, and now kingship being handed down to people and liaisons, then the Emerald Tablets pick up right there and talk about the fact that Thoth had been waiting for his mission as the temples were rising up out of the mud. So the water's residing, and the flow of the fountains and the people hiding in the caves are coming out. Now he's calling them hairy barbarians because I guess time had passed and these people had lost everything. And he says, now I must go to the place appointed. So they move home base from Iraq with Mesopotamia. They move it to Kemet, ancient Kemet, which is now called Egypt. Right.
And isn't that when he started to build the pyramids and all these technological things underneath the pyramids?
Exactly. That's when he started rebuilding the land of Kemet, started it all from scratch and built everything they just discovered now. And those scientists who discovered this on the satellite with the SAR scan said 38,000 years old. Well, how old are the Emerald Tablets?
What Thoth says he built them 36,000 years ago, right? The Emerald Tablets.
Yeah.
See, that's why I always say to people, go where the evidence leads you, right? I mean, the evidence leads back to the Emerald Tablets and this connection with the Sumerian texts. And so, I mean, how do you feel? And I know you've talked a lot about this, but obviously with this information, the Anunnaki, but how did they manipulate us to their advantage, Billy?
Well, what they do is they understand that we are less advanced to them spiritually and technologically. And because of that, they understand that by showcasing their amazing powers, which aren't really powers, that we would then bow down and deify them, which we did. So what they did was they utilized that masquerading as a god to get us to become their slaves in every aspect of life, but not knowing that we were enslaved. In other words, nobody was there cracking a whip against our back 24/7, although we did get treated pretty brutally. But overall, we did everything in honor of the gods. Okay, and we even sacrificed our very first harvest to them, and we'd sacrifice the fresh lamb to them. And what was that for? That was so they can eat. Okay, when I take you to Egypt, I'm going to take you to the storehouses where they have these hidden doors in these ancient temples, where they will put all the donations from everyone bringing their offerings to get their blessings. The people thought it was just to get blessings, but no. These gods, well, guess what? They got to eat just like you and I, because they're flesh and blood people. And I'll show you where they would hide the food. And they would get underneath this one area, and they would then, it magnifies voices. So they would then talk like they were a bellowing God to the people and give them their blessings as long as they keep bringing the offerings. And people would come from miles around bringing all this food. And when they left, they just had a big barbecue.
Well, I always find it fascinating in the Old Testament. I'm not sure exactly if this is Kings or Deuteronomy, or whatever, where the priests had to barbecue lamb and beef and all this. And then the gods I always wondered why God had to eat in the Old Testament. But
gotta eat now. Gotta eat.
They smell the burnt offerings or the barbecue, right? Like it's like when you go to a burger joint and they blow the smoke out. So you smell that. You're driving down the street, you say, hey, I want a burger. But they would smell that, then they come down and eat, right? So God or the gods had to come down and eat. Yeah. And that was cooked by the priests, right? And they'd have a special area, that the ziggurat or the temple, where they would eat. Yeah,
that's right. Meat. It was so they can actually, because they're not going to go hunting, and they're not going to farm for themselves either. And just let the people bring it to us and give us their best. We want the freshest fruit. We want the freshest harvest. We want the first. Everything was the best.
And they domesticated the cow. It says that, and they made butter. Taught us how to make butter and beer and bring wheat. To the planet, which is. A lot of people say wheat isn't really supposed to be here. They brought that here, So what it's interesting in regards to all this, but how do you feel like they manipulated our genes in a way? Obviously they took away, we lived apparently according to the text, humans lived thousands of years before the flood. Yep. And then they took away our longevity gene according to the text.
Yeah, they screwed us bad.
They screwed us bad to live, 120 years. I think that's because they knew if we live just as long as them, we're going to become just as smart as them. That's right. Short amount. They didn't want that because they wanted control over us.
Yeah, well, they saw it happening. So at the time we were living quite a bit of time. They realized that they had gone away for some time, and that when we built this tower, the Tower of Babel.
Correct.
Right, this tower into the heavens, and we put a Shem on top, which Shem translates into sky ship. So we made something that from our perspective, imitated or mimicked what they had built. Whether it worked technologically or not, or whether it was just a copy of, like a cargo cult, was irrelevant. The fact was, we did it. And that's when Yahweh, aka Enlil, came back and said, you know what? Whatever they set their hearts out to do, they shall achieve it. Their years shall be, their seed shall not abide forever. Their years shall be 120, 70, or whatever it was. So that knocked us down to 120 years. So they did a genetic modification. And from that point forward, all generations, the lifespan was just dropping like crazy. And you can see that in the Bible. The lifespans just start dropping like boom, 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 boom.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you only live 100 years, and most people don't live 100 years, they live 70 years or 75 or 80.
Yeah.
There's a lot more you can accomplish if you live 10,000 years or 100,000 years or 500,000 years. Can you imagine how much you know after?
Oh my God.
Even living 500 years, you know?
Listen, the way that they got us right now, 70 to 80 years, we're still adolescents. Now, our bodies might look like they're aged,
Correct.
But spiritually and consciously, we are still adolescents. We have not reached full maturity as a human being yet. Okay. Yes. So they cut us before we can even get any sort of real, true wisdom to keep us in this reincarnation cycle so that we never truly realize who and what we truly are and how much power we truly have and what we're supposed to really be doing here. So they cut that, and then they inserted that economic matrix, that financial matrix. So they keep us grinding until our body falls apart. We get diseased, we die, we never really live out our lives.
They set up the debtor system, right? I mean, the Anunnaki did. So we're still slaves. We got to pay taxes, and we're still, you know.
They set that up.
Well, we're $36 trillion in debt, and it keeps climbing. So, and it's funny, we don't even spend the money, but we're responsible for it. So in a way, we're still slaves.
Crazy.
Yeah. The other thing they did, Billy, and I know you know a lot about this, is they manipulated with the worship gene. It says that in the text. Why would they do that?
Well, if you have a race of people that are looking to, like the ancient cultures, indigenous cultures all over the world, they went to inner space. They didn't rely on an outside source for their salvation and everything else. And I think that once you insert this worship gene, it forces you now to feel like you need something on the outside to adore and admonish and to worship and to hold high. And it aided them in the process of really manipulating mankind and getting us to become their slave race. And so it's a great way of doing things if you're them, because, hey, we enslaved ourselves without even knowing we were being enslaved. I mean, it's all in the honor of the gods. We'll go to war in honor of the gods. We'll kill in honor of the gods.
It's almost like being fat, dumb, and happy, you know?
Yeah, right.
If you're fat and dumb, you're happy, but you don't progress anywhere.
Yeah.
So obviously they wanted to encode our hidden potential or make it dormant.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to what we first started talking about with Thoth, in that, they might have slowed us down, but I think humanity's catching up. And I think we're going into a different era of enlightenment and vibrational frequency. Can I know we've been on this for a while, but to kind of wrap these up, I'd like to tie these two things together, because I think it comes together with Thoth, the technologies on the pyramid, which proved that a lot of things he said were accurate. And then we're left with humankind, and where are we going, and how do we break from this cycle of birth, death, and taxes, and get to more to birth and enlightenment and moving on with
this is great. This is great to end the show on. This is a great question.
That's how I want to end this. This is kind of where we're heading, and we can have other podcasts. There's so much to talk about. We can talk for 50 hours, but I would really like to get your opinion on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you might have heard me talk about this before. Mankind is like a baby. Okay, we're like a newborn baby trying to learn how to crawl. And so, if you understand the metaphor between a baby and the civilization of mankind itself, we are striving to learn how to crawl, then walk, then run. Right now, we're in the crawling stage. And even in the crawling stage, a baby, as it's learning how to crawl, it plops down on its belly sometime, and it'll cry or just frustrated. I couldn't stay up, right? So that's where we are right now, but that's still leading us in the right direction. We are becoming enlightened. We are getting smarter. We are learning how to use our spiritual muscles to get stronger. Eventually, which is coming soon, we're going to crawl to the edge of a table and we're going to pull ourselves up and stand up. And when that happens, humanity is going to be so excited and proud of itself. And then we're going to take a couple of steps. But what happens after a baby takes 2 steps? It falls hard, okay? Right. And it's going to be a hard fall. And it screams, and we're going to scream out, oh my God, it was too good to be true. We thought we made it, and this thing had happened all over again. But no, it's part of the learning process on how to walk. Now we'll pull ourselves up again, and we'll take 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. And then we'll fall again. But this time, it'll be like, oh, the baby's like, oh, it's not that bad. I can just get up again. The baby's not crying. So we'll realize this is part of the process. Trust the process. Eventually, we'll get up again and we'll start to walk. And what is the definition of walking? It's learning how to control your fall. That's the actual definition. So when mankind learns how to control its fall, we have become truly ascended masters, wisdom keepers. We have learned longevity. We have learned technology. We have learned spirituality. We have learned love for every single being that exists in the known universe. And now we've broken this cycle of rise and fall. We've entered into a golden age, and we can learn how to sustain a golden age and not collapse again. That's the ultimate mission.
Yeah, and it almost seems like it correlates with lifespan too. If as we figure out how to live longer lives, we can learn and grow more, not only temporally, physically, but also spiritually, and learning these secrets and mysteries of the universe. And I just want to thank you so much for all the work you've done.
Thank you, man.
Over all the years, I've listened to countless podcasts, read a lot of your books, and I'm really looking forward to Egypt. And I think a shout out to everybody who's watching this podcast is that if you can go on one of these trips, or Billy has a lot of things that are just, and there's always people that are always antagonistic to the work you're doing, and that just comes with the territory. But Billy, keep going, because you're on the right path, and we've got a lot to teach people. And I thank you very much for having me on this podcast. It was a real blessing.
Thank you, man. It's great to have you here, man. I consider you a great friend already, and your family and your friends. Tell everyone I said hello that I met in Vegas, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in October on the Forbidden Tour of Egypt.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. This has been a great podcast. We're going to catch y'all later, but check out this clip from Anunnaki, Ancient Secrets Revealed. Make sure you get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on your app store and watch the whole series. Season 1 is available right now on the Forbidden Knowledge. We all have one question. Who are the Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki is arguably one of the greatest mysteries of our ancient history and our past.
We have to ask, who were the gods? The gods were extraterrestrials.
Join me in this grand odyssey and discovery as we seek to uncover the hidden truths of the Anunnaki.
By studying the Anunnaki, we truly unlock the secrets within ourselves at the same time.
We are the offsprings of extraterrestrials, and that's not coincidence.
This is the saga of the Anunnaki and their ancient secrets revealed.